It is a sunny Saturday in the UK. We're at Brands Hatch. It is the opening round of the Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe powered by AWS Sprint Cup. We had 3 hours of Endurance Cup drama at Imola, and now the Sprint Cup season bursts into life. It is qualifying day, but before we get to qualifying, we have free practice for which the cars will venture out in a few moments. We have pre-qualifying to look forward to as well. And of course, for many of the fans, it is a chance, a rare chance, to see Valentino Rossi in the UK, somewhere he's never raced before, and certainly tomorrow we're anticipating fans in their thousands. Lots of resurfacing work has gone on at Brands Hatch. It is a wonderful circuit, it's a real driver's circuit, and we are in for a treat. David Addison and John Watson are trackside as ever, and Watty, we're looking forward to this on a good old school circuit.
Bring it on! We need more tracks like Brands Hatch. Interestingly, I know you were commentating in British GT a couple of weekends ago. One of our competitors is a competitor in British GT, Jules Gounon, and he is absolutely euphoric about Oulton Park, another old school British racetrack. Loads of grass by the side of the racetrack, no concessions to all these youngsters that don't know what it's like to race on an old school circuit. Here we are at Brands, and I love it.
And so does this man, Valentino Rossi. Of course, he is the centre of attention for so many people this weekend, even yesterday. And the cars weren't on the track yesterday. There were Rossi fans in the paddock hoping to catch a glimpse or an autograph. Well, with him out ready to go at the start of this session, he's going to maximise this hour, isn't he? Because he needs the mileage.
A little paparazzi told me this morning that there was somebody, maybe it was a facsimile of this man here in the car, was actually seen being taken around slowly to get a visualization of what Brands Hatch is like. You can do it on a computer, you can even maybe walk it, but it's actually driving it, the dips and the crests and whatever. Undoubtedly, it'll be a challenge for Valentino Rossi, and on top of everything else, there will be a further challenge because lots of the Brands Hatch tarmac has been resurfaced. So into Paddock Hill Bend, up the hill, then into Graham Hill Bend, then further around the track, round through west or down the dip in Dingledale up through Sheen Curve. So you'd have differing track levels of grip, surface grip. So again, another issue for teams to deal with on a beautiful morning here at Brands, but it is perishingly chilly.
It is. Now, the teams do have the luxury of ovens, of tyre warmers, and they're going to be using those, but you can anticipate that a number of the drivers are going to try and get as much out of this session as possibly can. Benjamin Goethe is due to go in the number 30 Audi. Of course, slightly different combinations of drivers, because for one thing, you're talking 2, not 3, like we do in endurance, but there's a little bit of team swapping and co-driver swapping. Jules Gounon and Jim Pla looks, for example, like a mighty strong Mercedes combination. Charles Witz and Dries van Thor going for 3 Sprint Cup titles in a row. There's number 12 Audi, Mattia Drudi and Luca Giotto, and that has got to be a quick car as well.
Very much so. Luca Giotto coming out of Formula 2 primarily and now into GT, and a very strong runner with Matteo Drudi. Always look at him, recognise what his abilities are and what we can hope for.
So there you have the car collection. Audis, Simon Gachet, Christopher Hauser in one, Mattia Drudi and Luca Giotto in the other. And it won't be long, I think, before we get the fast lane open. Now, to begin with, it is going to be the bronze and silver drivers only. So the bronze and silvers get a little bit of track time on their own without all, as John might call them, the hot rods in their mirrors sort of scaring them out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, it's an opportunity, 30 minutes. It'll go very quickly. I know it's still 30 minutes. It doesn't matter how you manage it, but it's going to be, what, a minute and sort of low 20s per lap at a race pace. So the initial laps will be probably a few seconds away from that. Again, it's this change of surface, Paddock Hill Bend up into Druids, down into Graham Hill. Drivers have got to relearn, and we've got a brand new Pirelli tyre. We saw that introduced in Imola for the 3-hour endurance. So different kind of dynamic from what we had last year. Remember, was it August we were here last year?
Yes. Yes.
So height of summertime, here we are just coming into the middle of spring and a lot cooler in the atmosphere.
Now, we have a problem already. The red flag has been shown because a couple of cars have got to this point in the pits before they should have done. Now, the clock has started, but I'm not quite sure. I think those cars were allowed through when they shouldn't have been. So Alain Adon has call for a red flag, but all of this eats into the session. So we've started with a red, if that makes any sense, but as soon as possible the cars will venture onto the circuit. They're at the end of the pit lane, but they've gone a bit too far. They've gone through the initial red light, but anyway, as soon as we can, we'll get the cars out onto the track with their Valentino Rossi. He is ready to go as well, as the tyres are adorning the Ferrari now. So there is the AF Corsa entry. We've got one for Louis Machiels and Andrea Bertolini. An intriguing entry, Ulysse de Pau and Pierre-Alexandre Jean, that we saw in the Bentley last year.
Yeah, I mean, a very strong combination in the Bentley. Look forward to seeing them here this weekend. And a new home in terms of the car compared to a mid-front engine to a mid-rear engine car.
Igor Walilko for the Acodis ASP team aboard number 86. And he has done quite a bit of racing in Carrera Cup Germany, Porsche Super Cup, the ADAC GT Masters, but now coming to GT World Challenge Europe. Number 18 there is the new to this championship team. We've seen them in Super Trofeo Lamborghini, GSM Nova Marine of Isaac Tutumlu and Gerhard Verraza, returning, in fact, Gerhard Verraza to GT racing. So lots of frantic work as Jules Gounon gets himself ready. And one or two of the drivers, Jim Pilar, are also waiting their turn. As I say, it's only the bronze and the silvers that can go out first. But technically the session has started, even though we've got this early red flag.
And an anomaly.
Yeah. So, right, we've gone green, we're good. So we're in business. And again, as ever in a free practice session, it's not about the times, it's about setup, it's about experience, it's about mileage, and the teams will all have a different plan for this.
And also be a lot of information gathering the bronze and silver drivers that are going out, where there might be a pro driver or pro car, then that feeds back into the team. So don't expect any times that are going to be earth-shatteringly quick in this first 30 minutes. It'll be the second 30 minutes where we'll start seeing the real pace, the ultimate pace of the 2022 incarnation.
Well, Brands Hatch, you have to say, especially on a sunny day, looks fantastic. So much effort goes into making this place look smart. And when you bring the big teams and all the colour, and there's a lot of yellow around inevitably this weekend, the place does look fantastic. So out goes Valentino Rossi, ready for his first lap around here in anything, on anything. The WRT run Audi heads up towards Druids.
What did he think when he got to the very top of Paddock Bend and looked down? It's virtually a vertical drop. So having maybe walked it, maybe been around in a road car, doing it in a race car, even though these tyres have been warmed to a certain level, it's not quite the same as getting the tyre actually up to race temperature. So I would say very gentle outlap for Valentino Rossi.
So I'm trying to think of anywhere comparable that would have had MotoGP. The Saxon Ring, possibly, that's got some pretty daunting rises and falls, but there aren't many. You're quite right. So over the timing line then goes there the Audi, that is 33, and it is Jean-Baptiste Simonauer who is at the wheel of that car. That's another one out of the WRT stable, the silver graded driver. And Jean-Baptiste Simonauer has made a name for himself in Porsches, but now coming across to a different brand, into a different championship as well.
Well, it's his first flying lap, and just looking at the images on screen, there's an element of confidence in how he's going about his business.
Yeah. And he's another driver, I think I'm right in saying, new to Brands Hatch. So quite a few of them on a learning curve here. And it does make sense to give the bronze and the silvers this track time to themselves. The pros, the gold and the platinums, in theory, either do know the place already or should be able to learn it faster, given their success and their experience that gives them that driver grading.
Yeah, the principle of doing this is it enables those that are silver or bronze or who have no experience, particularly in those two categories. There you see the new surface as they come through Dingledale up into the Sheen curve, to do so without the pressure of the pro drivers, the platinum and gold, who will be able to, from memory, know precisely what the circuit's going to give them, whereas the learners, let's say, as we're saying here in the case of the 33 Audi, they just want to find the rhythm of the racetrack.
One car that we're not going to see out in the silver element of free practice, 78 Lamborghini from Barwell, Alex Malikin, not feeling very well this morning, so he's taking his tablets. Ben Barker will drive when he is allowed to, but Alex Malikin hopefully will be good to go later on in the day.
Just notice coming through paddock, the rear of the 33 Audi, I don't know whether it was they picked up moisture at the exit of the curbing, or whether there's moisture coming from the left rear of that car, but just at the top of your screen where you see cars exiting Paddock Hill Bend, there was that little hint that there was something that needs to be checked.
So Casper Stevenson has now done the gun time, 1 minute 25.641 seconds. The Mercedes, a good grunty car around here with all of that talk, but last year we saw how well McLaren went, and 87 Casper Stevenson there turning his way through Hawthorns. He shares that car with Thomas Drouet. They're both silver graded, so they run in the Silver Cup for the young guns, for the, if you like, wannabes, the drivers that are still working their way up through the ranks of motorsport. That's another of the resurfaced sections. We're expecting much quicker lap times this year, aren't we?
Well, I'd hope so. Certainly when you put a new surface on, and it's probably the first time that, well, it is the first time the Grand Prix circuit here at Brands Hatch will be in use. So you do get an initial rush of reduction in lap time due to that new surface, but because it's only partially resurfaced, you're going from new surface then back onto the older surface. So it's slightly confusing. Some corners will be more grippy than previously. Other corners will be pretty much as it's been over the last number of years.
Last year's wins here split between Audi and Mercedes. Charles Witz and Dries Van Thor won one of them, and Lucas Stoltz and Mauro Engel won the second. Well, Mauro Engel is away on DTM duty this weekend, but there's still plenty of quick Mercedes, including this rather wayward one that has got it all wrong. Casper Stevenson coming out of Graham Hill Bend. So what was all that down to, John?
Just too quick into it, not
right.
Getting the car slowed down enough. Again, at Brands Hatch, we believe, well, we know this year from the series that the cars are equipped with a GPS system to indicate where the dreaded track limits have been exceeded. And Graham Hill Bend is one of those corners where within the Brands Hatch circuit itself, they've got their own GPS system. So Graham Hill Bend, one of the notable corners where we will see many drivers having their lap time deleted because they've just run too far over. All four wheels have been off the black part of the racetrack, or what we call the black racetrack.
Yes, at Brands Hatch there are these pressure pads that take a photograph of the car if you are over the track limits, a bit like the equivalent of a speed camera. But as John rightly says, the cars now do have this GPS system. It's still being trialled. They've all got it fitted. It's not yet official, if you like, but it will be for Spa. So the track limit penalties at Spa can all be contained within the system. It doesn't even need to go via the race director, is the plan.
Well, all I can say is every lap at Spa, delete, delete, because up at Radio, I've never seen a driver keep all four wheels on the racetrack as they crest over the top of Radio. Valentino Rossi going about his work. Let's see where is that. We've got a lap time for him. Yes, this one's currently 9th quickest on a 1 minute 25.9.
Now he's got himself a little bit of traffic here, and it's always fascinating to see how Valentino Rossi gets through the traffic, because of course it's a very different way of overtaking car to bike. I know it sounds obvious, but the lines are different because you've got all of this width of the car. You know, where you would put the bike is not where you would put an Audi.
And run to see how wide he came coming out of Paddock up the hill into Druids. Yes, it's a different dynamic altogether. And I mean, Brands Hatch, the effective width of the racetrack, not the actual width, but when you're doing a lap and having to battle the car a little bit through Graham Hill Bend, the restrictions on overtaking in a race car are much greater than that of overtaking on a motorcycle. And even here at Brands Hatch, when you see other superbikes, because we haven't had a MotoGP at Brands Hatch to my knowledge, but certainly World Superbikes when they were here, or even British Superbikes, overtaking isn't exactly the easiest activity.
Well, right now it is Dean McDonald, quick brick, graduating from GT4 to GT3 McLarens, who is the fastest, 1 minute 24.341, but Casper Stevenson has just gone quicker, 1:23.506, and a glimpse there of just what Brands Hatch is looking like. More and more yellow. Every time you look out of the window, you see yet more pockets of yellow. The Rossi fans here in numbers, and ticket sales for tomorrow for race day, really, really good. Well, we saw it at Imola. Put some of that down to Italian on Italian circuit, but clearly, because he's very popular in the UK as well, we're anticipating lots of people here to to cheer him on, and of course many of them have come to see him finish on the podium, and with Fred Verdiche as a co-driver, he's got a real chance.
I mean, just watching when he's completed another lap, it looks as if to me he has come to terms with finding the rhythm of Brands Hatch very quickly indeed. His lap time currently doesn't reflect. He's doing a 1:25.5, 2 seconds down on Casper Stevenson in the quickest of the bronze and silver cars currently.
Over the timing line goes Dean McDonald. He's dropped down to 4th fastest now, but again, he's still learning about all of this as he hustles the car through Paddock Hill Bend, the Garage 59 entry with Miguel Ramos, who was the winner in Pro-Am last year in the first of the 2 races that we had at Brands Hatch. And Miguel Ramos changing teams from Barwell to Garage 59, from Lamborghini to McLaren for this season. The road has got 20 cars upon it at the moment, so it's getting busier. Number 11 there is the Trésor by Car Collection Audi, Simon Gachet at the wheel of it, the very personable Frenchman who has hauled his way up into the GT3 ranks really by a hard graft and by being a nice bloke, because there's no real money behind him, but he's a quick guy.
Very good driver indeed, and actually 2 personal bests. Could see Simon Gachet in the number 11 Audi go quickest overall. Wait to see what his final sector time is, therefore get his lap time. He's got to beat Alexander Pierrejean's time at 53, the Ferrari 1:23.450. Goes 4th quickest, but he's within, well, just over 1/10 of a second behind the quickest Ferrari.
And again, with this only being free practice, that will do. So comes then to the 4th quickest Simon Gachet. At the margins, you've got 43 thousandths now between Pierre-Alexandre Jean's Ferrari and Dean McDonald in the McLaren. There is Pierre-Alexandre Jean, who goes quicker still, 1:23.314 now, as the AF Corsa Ferrari breaks the beam. Pierre-Alexandre Jean, for many, many seasons, was associated with Alpines in GT4. We saw him doing great things in the international race in Bahrain at the Nations Cup a few years ago. But here, with an AF Corsa Ferrari in Sprint Cup, I think this is going to be an absolutely standout combination. Him, the very quick Ulysse de Pauw that knows British circuits, so he knows Brands Hatch from racing in Formula 3 in this country. They should be really good this weekend.
I think I would concur everything you've just said. The Ferrari right now, well, it has been quickest. It's been Casper Stevenson, and the Mercedes has eclipsed him by just over 1/10 of a second. So we're now into the low 1:23 seconds here. Well, we're just roughly 15 minutes into this 30-minute session exclusive to bronze and silver drivers. Remember, we lost about 2.5 minutes because of the slight misunderstanding and letting 2 cars leave the pit lane, arguably before they were actually ready to do so, or the circuit was ready for them, I should say. Around the back of the circuit, coming through Sheen Curve into Stirling's. So Alexander Pierrejean has backed out of it a little bit, so one would assume he's coming into the pits. Certainly he's trying to keep tire temperature up. No, he's going to continue. So he was looking maybe for a little bit of track space. Now, out of that long sweeping clearways into Clark Curve, and then the sort of pit straight is really a very shallow curve in itself, leading into the newly resurfaced Paddock Hill Bend.
So Casper Stevenson responding to Pierre-Alexandre Jean's efforts. I mean, Casper Stevenson, he's new to GT racing this year. He was really impressive in the Gulf 12 Hours at the start of the year, but he's done a 23.2 now to be a 10th up on this man, Pierre-Alexandre Jean. We haven't yet touched on Porsches, John, and we are remiss in not doing so because we know they're a great GT brand. And Adrian Delina there going through Surtees onto the Grand Prix circuit. Now, of course, we haven't seen much of him since he hurt his back at Misano over the curbs last year.
No, but currently that's 18th quickest, so that's been just a relatively gentle outlap now. He's taken over half a second out of his best in Sector 1. Now, that incident at Misano was a very, very unpleasant accident.
Yeah. Didn't do anything for the car, didn't do anything for his
destroyed.
back. Absolutely, yeah.
Not only the chassis, I think it destroyed the engine and maybe the gearbox likewise.
Yes, just quickly to tell the tale, he was squeezed out wide on the opening lap over the so-called yellow banana curbs that had the effect of making the car buck, and therefore it landed savagely and did a lot of harm to Adrian himself. Right, so he's 18th quickest, playing himself back in. Belgian driver comes down towards Clearways into Clark Curve now and heads for the pit lane, in fact, in the dynamic motorsport car, one of 2, because you've got him and Christian Engelhardt, Giorgio Roda and Klaus Bachler.
was just watching the Ferrari Alexander Pierjon as it came through Stirling. That likewise, again coming out of paddock, you can see the first of these two Ferraris, Ferrari then the Audi, just on the limit. If you go back to the McLaren of McDonald, currently quickest one, 23.200, 3,000ths of a second quicker than Casper Stevenson in the number 87 Mercedes. Let's look again. Yellow flags. So where Valentino? The black stuff is where you're meant to be. If you want to go rally crossing, or what do you call it, motorbikes?
Motocross.
Motocross. Get two wheels.
Well, he's recovered from it, and thankfully no harm done. You've got to find the limit, haven't you, to know when you're over it, or something like that. So he's got away with that, more or less. Car 46 spun and rejoined, it says on the timing screen, so there's no escape. He's down to 15, so he's got to find a little bit of time here.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I would go out and do maybe 3 or 4 flying laps, come in, have a word with my team, give myself that little bit of break, take the pressure off, go back out again, and normally by doing that you will find that you will pick up time, whereas if you go out and pound around for the 30 minutes that are available to you in this session as a divided session, sometimes it doesn't always work in your favour.
He's wide again at Graham Hill Bend, so pressing on. So now Pierre-Alexandre Jean goes back to the top of the times, but Valentino Rossi, let's just focus on him for the rest of this lap, because you can gauge his pace now against the Porsche that's just up the road ahead. The lap is divided, of course, into 3 sectors. That's how we can piece it together. We'll talk about personal bests, we'll talk about drivers improving, and as he turns his way now up around the right of Hawthorn, so Valentino Rossi inching himself up onto the back of the dynamic Porsche there.
And really, he doesn't want to find a way around another car. Porsche pulls over, lets Rossi go through cleanly up into Sheen Curve. I mean, it's a tough racetrack for your first venue at Brands Hatch. One thing going on to the Indy circuit, but racing on the Grand Prix circuit, it is a proper racetrack with the rise and falls and the variety of corners. The quickest corner on the circuit is out at Hawthorns. Probably one of these Audis, round about 200 kilometers per hour. Then you come down into Clearways and Clark Curve. I think fantastic combination. Then before you know it, here you are into Paddock Hill Bend.
What's also intriguing about Valentino is how he's up for the challenge. You know, he could have come into car racing in GT4 or in Lamborghini Super Trofeo, or nothing quite as bright a spotlight as this championship, but he's gone with perhaps the toughest championship for GT cars, and he's off the road again. He's gone with one of the top teams, and therefore the expectations are high. He really has gone in at the deep end. He
has. I think that's the only way he would want to do it.
Yeah.
But likewise, we'll just have a look at replay. Well, this is Valentino going, hop, skip and a jump. That's an improvement over his previous lap through Graham Hill Bend. But frankly, I would bring him in now and stop. I know the time is counting down. Just have a word. How are you getting on? Anything you feel that you're not comfortable with? Give him that break, because I believe that those little breaks between a 5 or 6 lap run are more productive than just staying on, pounding round. Now
WRT, of course, the squad that operates this car, massively experienced, so accordingly they'll be, yes, guiding him into the pit lane, offering the advice and saying, right, okay, you've had a couple of moments, we'll make the call for you. Box, box, box. So in comes Valentino Rossi. He doesn't have to give the car over yet to Fred Verviche. He can go back out, but just download some data, just you know, calm himself, have a think about it.
Yeah, I mean, simply just come in, speak to your engineer. There's 10 minutes of this 30-minute session available, so that'll be pulled back into the WRT garage. And, I mean, it's just allow Rossi to catch his breath, talk to somebody, not just talk over a radio, and because doing that you have to split your concentration between what you want to say and what you're having to do on the racetrack.
Now that's Eddie Cheever, who's just ventured out, so this is a slow outlap in the Sky Tempesta Racing Mercedes, run by the Group M team, and that car just getting out of the way. But it's a very slow outlap, almost suggesting it's not well.
Well, certainly he was on the racing line as he came through Sheen Curve. Now he got out of the way going through Stirling's with quicker cars trying to complete their flying laps. So what will Cheever do now when he goes out? This will be the first flying lap, but as you pointed out, David, he's going very slowly indeed. Is there an issue or a problem with the 93 Sky Tempesta Mercedes, or is it just simply Eddie Cheever has just gone out, give the car a single lap, check it out, bring it into the pit lane, and really, is he worried about doing another number of flying laps? He knows Brands Hatch.
Well, in he comes, so it was...
It sounds like a cement mixer to me.
Yes, it does. Oh,
that is not normal.
No. The noise tells the story for you.
There's something mechanically not correct in that 93 Sky Tempesta Mercedes.
Well, that's going back to its garage where work will continue. We've got 38 minutes of the session to go, with, of course, the golds and the platinum still to come. Pierre-Alexandre Jean, who's done the bulk of the driving thus far in 53, has now got Timo Boguslavski as the nearest opposition. Timo Boguslavski, 95 thousandths of a second slower. He drives number 89 with Raffaele Marciello. Now, remember, of course, that Timo Boguslavski 2 years ago was the combined champion, taking sprint and endurance together. So he's not only experienced, but he's quick and he's successful, as we look at Dean McDonald once again, and he has done a 23.085, which puts him third fastest.
Indeed he has, and he's just fractionally down on his last personal best, Sector 1. Sector 2, just over half a second down, so not going to expect any improvement on this particular lap from Dean McDonald in the 188 McLaren. I wondered whether he might consider dropping into the pit lane. 7 minutes or 7.5 minutes of this first part of the 1 hour session remaining. Then we'll get the big players, I can't say big boys, but big players out. And the racetrack, it feels like it's coming alive. It feels like this, well, the sun's coming out first of all, so that's going to help the ambient temperature, which is going to help the track temperature, which is going to help the tyre temperature, which will enable drivers to lean more on their cars. Even though they're coming out on warm tyres, if the track temperature is low, the temperature will drop away. And likewise, the tyre temperature, tyre pressure partnership.
Sky Tempesta have confirmed that 93 has technical issues. A quick look at speeds heading towards Hawthorns. 232 kilometres an hour is the fastest from this car, from this man. In 188, Dean McDonald, the silver-graded Garage 59 McLaren driver. 232 clicks approaching that corner. That's fast.
It's a good speed, and I would expect, as the weekend progresses, certainly when we get into the qualifying for both of these 2 1 hour sprint races, that speed will increase, principally because the speed they come out of Surtees, which is the corner that leads on to Pilgrim's Drop on Hawthorn Hill. That's the back straight here at Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. So I'd expect to see cars up around about 240, 239 kilometres per hour, and then that is getting on a bit.
So over the timing line goes the McLaren. We've got Alex Arco improving in his Audi number 99, running to the top 6. But with the exception of Valentino Rossi having had a moment, I think pretty much everybody else has been fairly well behaved. And there is the technical drama that persists at Sky Tempesta Racing. So the laptops are plugged in, the data is gained, and therefore the software tells the story. And then they'll try to rectify that problem and get Eddie Cheever and or Chris Froggatt out, but the clock ticks down.
It was such an obvious mechanical noise. I'm surprised it wasn't there prior to the car going out, because it went out, did one flying lap, and came straight back in. So it must have been a rather rapid mechanical issue, because otherwise the team wouldn't have sent the car out.
Now Benjamin Goethe is another improver in his number 30 Audi. There, however, is 33, the McDonald's livery car, and that is Jean-Baptiste Simonau. We saw him at the start of the session. He's still on board, shares the WRT entry with Christopher Mies. They don't come much more platinum in GT3 Audis than Christopher Mies, so he's got to wait his turn. Yeah, the track is not open to him.
Indeed, and whoops, I'm just almost tripping my chair. Alex Arca has actually further improved up into 4th place. Likewise, 86. The Mercedes, just looking down timing and scoring to see who is on a quick lap.
Now Simon Gachet has just gone himself up to second, and we understand it is a gearbox drama for the Sky Tempesta Mercedes. So no time recorded thus far, and the work continues.
Yes, and I suspect if it is a gearbox issue, it'd be unlikely the car will be able to get back out for the second 30 minutes of this 1 hour session. So a major setback right now for the 93 Sky Tempesta Mercedes, and a huge disappointment undoubtedly to Eddie Cheever and Christopher Fogler. Valentino Rossi back out. We'll go back 30.
That's 33.
Seminar, yeah, 33 Seminar.
Saw what speed they were doing through Sheen Curve, got the AWS data for different parts of the circuit, and if you go to the GT World Challenge Europe website and navigate your way to the AWS data, you can pick and choose which corner, which cars, which category, whether it's Pro or Pro-Am or Silver, you name it, and there's much more there you can pick and choose from, as I say, on the championship website if you so are inclined.
In the meantime, Alex Arca has gone quickest overall in his Audi by 28 thousandths of a second. Doesn't matter. He's in the right direction. I mean, there's a lot of Audis here this weekend. It is, if you want to call it a racetrack that is an Audi circuit, it's probably as good a circuit as you can wish for.
Now, Ulysse de Pauw, who was a winner in British Formula 3 in its MSV monobrand era, he has taken over number 53 Ferrari now from Pierre-Alexandre Jean, so we'll see what lap times he can do. Simon Gachet's last lap started with an absolute best, but third was the reward. Timo Boguslavski is fourth, Dean McDonald is fifth, and Ben Goethe, there he is, Benji Goethe is sixth fastest, coming up towards the timing line now. Seventh fastest Thomas Drouet, eighth is Igor Walelko, ninth is Peter Schotthorst, and 10th fastest at the moment in the in the Ferrari number 21 is Cedric Sprazzioli. And we have got 21 that have ventured out and 20 with a time, and there are 26 in total. So actually we do have the bulk of the field on track at the moment.
So looking at Valentino Rossi currently down in 17th. He's got an improvement in Sector 1, he's got an improvement in Sector 2. If he gets an improvement, he's actually improved in the final sector. He's moved up 2 positions. Now, is that a coincidence that he came in, had a word with the team and went back out again? I feel that sometimes that's the right step to take. There we are on board with the man into Graham Hill Bend. This has been the bogey corner for him. And that time through the corner just about would be acceptable. Into Surtees. John Surtees, the only Formula One and motorcycle world champion. Something, unfortunately, Valentino Rossi is never going to be able to repeat. But he could win a championship in this category.
Absolutely right. Yes, what was it, 9 in MotoGP? There are plenty of GT titles up there for grabs. Onto this newly resurfaced section up towards Sheen Curves. So it's quick, turn right, the road rises, bounces over the curve, runs it out wide, sets it up on the opposite side of the road to turn left. Now into Sterling's. Limited margin for error, but no error comes, and now makes his way down towards the right-hander out of Clearways into Clark Curve, and then the run up towards Paddock Hill Bend. So the speed builds here really all the way up to Paddock, and at that part of the circuit Valentino Rossi second fastest in terms of the top speed.
Well, I mean, that's impressive. I mean, watching just from the on-board, he places the car essentially in a very precise and accurate manner. Where he is a little bit behind the 8 ball is he is yet to carry that forward with a quicker lap time. Again, way. Graham Hill Bend, I don't know what it is about that corner, but he has not found again, turning into Surtees, back of the Audi, again stepping out just before he got to the apex. So it's not been what one would call a comfortable morning for the Italian. There's fans all around the racetrack monitoring every step of his progress. There he is through now what is called Hawthorne's. It's Hawthorne's corner. It's a great corner. You can actually carry a lot more speed than you think, partly because the entrance is on a slightly uphill, and then there's a little bit of camber to help you when you turn in.
Now Ben Goethe has gone to the top of the times for Audi. Their number 11 is the car collection car of Simon Gachet, but Benji Goethe for WRT in the Rofco Gulf colours, 1:22.803 now. Simon Gachet, you would expect, ought to be there or thereabouts. In fairness, he's only 88 thousandths back, but round here that matters.
Also, it's just the pecking order. Well, I was quicker than you. Well, by 1,000th of a second, doesn't matter. I was quicker than you.
There's a report also that number 26 has been off the road and back on again. Nicholas Bart for the Santalot Junior team. Now into the pit lane comes Simon Gachet. In he comes then down the pit road. Now we've talked about Valentino Rossi. Let's hear from his co-driver, because Frederic Verviche is the second driver of number 46. He's in the pit lane and can talk to our reporter Gemma Scott.
Fred obviously sharing the car with Valentino. We've seen him out on track this morning. He's not driven at this circuit before. How's he settling in?
Yeah, I think he did great. I mean, in the beginning he was straight on purple sectors, and I saw from the outside he was pushing very hard. So I think he's already on a quite good pace. We will see now with better tires where we can end up, but it looks like the iRacing paid off, and the sim racing paid off. So
we've seen him take a couple of trips through the grass and through the gravel there, but is that just a case of pushing to find where the maximum limit is?
Yes, that's quite standard for him. So he really pushing very hard. Normally he never touch something, just does maybe a spin or go a bit wide, but then it's very impressive for him or for me to see that he knows his limit, and then he will not do the same thing again. So yeah, that's normal.
So it should be a good week ahead in front of all the fans.
Yeah, I think everybody's happy, and we as well as drivers, as championship. It's cool to have him here, and yeah, I think it will be a nice weekend.
Thank you very much. Look forward to seeing you in the car as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, there's expectation around this man, Valentino Rossi, to a degree. There's expectation on the shoulders of Fred Verviche, because in the eyes of the Rossi fans, he's also got to deliver to give their man a good chance.
Indeed. I mean, Fred Verviche knows an Audi inside out. Yeah. You know, there's nobody in the Audi family that's going to outperform Fred Verviche on his day. And it will be interesting to see when Fred gets in. Now, he mentioned when they put on a fresh set of tyres, because what often happens is there's a carryover of the Pirelli tyre from the previous round, so very frequently in the early phases of Friday's running, those will be the tyres that will be used. Teams want to hold back the newest or the best of their sets of tyres for when it matters, which is qualifying, and then, of course, for the 2 one-hour sprint races. But Fred Verviche, I would assume, once he gets behind the wheel of the 46 Audi, will find probably the best part of a second relatively quickly. I mean, currently, Valentino Rossi is 14th quickest. He was all the way down in 17th, 18th position, so he did find improvement, and he will come back into the pits knowing that he has made progress, which is the key for more time behind the wheel. Just make progress.
Well, now all drivers are eligible to take part in the session, so straight away Mattia Drudi, Dries Van Voort, Rob Bell, Ben Barker, Jules Gounon are added to the list. Out they go, and this number 99 is now being driven by Nicholas Schurl. So the Attempto Audi, Alex Arca, who is the son of the team owner Arkin Arca, he has given away, and it is Nicholas Schurl behind the wheel of the car now.
It's 27 minutes remaining, and I wonder, I mean, the time Benjamin goes to set 1:22.8. I wonder how long it will be before that time Nicholas Beard will either improve or match. So the 88 Mercedes, 89 Mercedes, and 88 Mercedes. I don't know why we've now got Jules Gounon in the 88, but that Raffaele Marcello, sort of normally Marcello is always associated with the 88, but he's in the 89 Mercedes this weekend.
And back with Timur Boguslavski, with whom he drove in sprint a couple of years ago, 3 years ago now. But personally, I think Gounon and Pla is a really exciting combination. So let's see. Jules, who certainly won lots of new fans with his exploits at Alton Park, comes up towards the timing line now. Spa 24 winner, former Bentley boy, now Mercedes factory driver. He won Spa in the Audi. moved to Bentley. He'd also been racing Corvettes in ADAC GT Masters, so he's one of the more versatile, if you like, jumping from brand to brand and doing it with great success. He's onto a flying lap now. So it is Benjamin Goethe the fastest, but he's in the pit lane, 1:22.803. The session has 26 minutes still to run, and of course now, John, the road's getting that little bit busier.
Yes, and Jules Gounon again running to the maximum on the exit of Grahamhill Bend. So his first time lap was not of any significance. It just takes a little bit of time there. The 46 Audi back out, and I'm assuming that Fred Bavish is now behind the wheel, but I have to get that confirmed. Dries van Thor behind the wheel of the 32 Audi up to 6th place, and that's that car's basically it's on an out lap, one flying lap, and the second flying lap has gone sixth quickest. Christopher Hauser directly ahead of him in the number 11 Audi.
We've had a warning for Mathieu Drudy of speeding in the pit lane. Now, the pit lane speed limit is 50 kilometres an hour, and he has done 50.2, and the race director has made the point that you've got to be 50 or less, not fractionally over. So there's a metaphorical finger wag in the direction of Mathieu Drudy. Raffaele Marciello goes fastest, 1:22.685. He's a 10th quicker than anybody.
Didn't take very long.
No, he did not, did it? So to the top goes Lello, but I suspect that that's not going to be the ultimate time. I think one or two others have got their sights on going yet faster still.
Well, the sister car, the 88 of Jules Gounon, has gone into 9th position, so that's the effective first proper flying lap for the 88 car, but 89 Raffaele Marciello wasting no time whatsoever. Certainly he knows, as I suspect, is one of these racetracks that he really enjoys. You can get your teeth into it. Rob Bell in the Jota McLaren. Apparently, I gather, again, my paparazzi in the pit lane this time, rather than around the racetrack, tells me this car's got a new chassis.
Okay. Well, remember how well the McLaren was doing last year until there was that contact with Raffaele Marciello. Is this a McLaren circuit?
At this part of the racetrack.
That's right. Round about here, wasn't it? Heading up through Sheen Curve. So, Rob Bell, fastest man at Goodwood last year on the hill. We've got Valentino Rossi going 13th. We've got Jules Gounon going 9th. So improvements are coming. 24 minutes on the clock.
So it looks like WRT have opted to keep Rossi in the car.
And to the top of the times now goes Dries van Thor, John, by 33 thousandths.
It's going to be a battle between the 32 and the 89 Mercedes, I suspect, for a great part of this entire weekend.
So we've got then the McLaren threading its way through the traffic coming downhill. So there is the Jota McLaren. The clock is telling you about Ben Barker, who is now out on track. Alex Malakin not having been able to do his part of the session.
I think Valentino Rossi may have been given a better set of tyres. He's gone into the top 10. He's 8th quickest. That's more like it.
That's where you kind of anticipate the Audi to be, isn't it? So good effort that by the doctor, by Valentino Rossi. Right, Ben Barker, you normally associate with Porsches. He quite likes this Lamborghini, so it's very different, but he's getting used to it. Racing in this and also in British GT in Lamborghinis, and he comes now in the Barwell car. He jumps also from Barwell to Redline, depending on which championship he's in, but up towards Westfield he comes through the right, and already this car is 12th fastest.
Undoubtedly, racing in the UK in the British GT Championship, having knowledge of all the British racetracks does give you, and especially here at Brands Hatch, as we see the Ferrari, which was Ulysses de Paul behind the wheel, weaving around, trying to get tyre temperature into those 4 wheels and tyres. So he's now onto a flag lap as Ben Barker goes on to continue. Barker currently 12th, and I think that actually, yes, that was an improvement.
Now, Raffaele Marciello has just done an absolute best in the first sector. You're riding with Valentino Rossi, and Vali is 8th at the moment. His last lap wasn't any quicker because he's got himself in traffic, really. Fred Vavish is set to go, so they're going to try and prize Valentino out of the car and let Fred Vavish have a go, but Rossi is very definitely in traffic right now. Look at this.
Now let's watch and see how does he deal with another competitive car. Quickest part of the racetrack up to eventually about 240 kilometers per hour into Hawthorns. Now, if you get a good run on a car you're following, you can be brave and stick your nose down the inside, but it's a short run between that into Westfield Bend. Rossi decides the better of it. He doesn't take that risk. He doesn't take the opportunity. Then up the hill into Sheen Curve. Again, nowhere really in this part of the racetrack where you can make a safe overtake.
And of course, this is all part and parcel of what Valentino needs to learn for tomorrow. Thomas Drouet has gone fastest, by the way. But when you get to the races, overtaking is not that easy around here, and finding the lines, finding the commitment level, if you like, is absolutely crucial. Look at this.
Brave into Paddock Hill Bend if he thinks he can make it stick. And I think he's going to be patient, Up into Druids will be the best opportunity in reality. He looks, he's gone past the Porsche's given him, so he turns his head to the left as if to say, well, thanks for that, I didn't expect that very much. So up into Druids now.
So he's cleared the traffic. The road is clear ahead, just looking out of our window, because for the next couple of corners, there's nobody really up the road. Comes out of Graham Hill Bend, uses all of the curb, but nothing quite as extreme as he was doing earlier on. So we've got 1/3 of this session still to go. Thomas Drouet is the fastest now. Jules Gounon, absolute best in the first sector. And this lap for Valentino Rossi, well, he's about to get through the first sector, and it's no quicker. The next one might be, but again, it's all now traffic dependent.
Yeah, there's a little bit of going through Paddock Hill Bend and following the Porsche into the corner, then realizing the Porsche was going to concede. So that's another reset. That's part of the learning process of racing a car as against racing on a two-wheel motorcycle. So Fred Vavish is preparing in the WRT Audi pit. I'm going to make it abundantly clear where that 46 Audi car pit is. Remember in Imola a month ago, when Valentino came in to hand over the car, he was sort of blindsided and he missed the pit slot, and he had to then go and do another lap. That'll not occur again.
No, indeed. He is into the pits. As to the top of the times has gone Jules Gounon. We have a Mercedes 1, 2, 3 and an Audi 4, 5, 6, 7 at the moment. And this car is 10th. So expect Fred Vavish to make it go faster. That's nothing against Valentino Rossi. It's just pure fact. Fred is a more experienced GT and Audi racer. So out gets the doctor, in gets Fred Vavish, who spent some of his earlier days racing single-seaters in the States, but has been a loyal servant of Audi, both in touring cars as well as GT cars, racing in WTCR as well as in assorted GT championships. So the netting is put back in. Valentino, of course, as a good driver should, helps with the pit stop, doesn't just get out and walk away.
It's a requirement. I mean, in a practice session, it's not necessary per se, but it's practice for what they will do when it comes to doing the driver changes in both of the sprint events on Sunday afternoon. So Fred Vavish just adjusts. He's got the hands device, making sure he's got freedom of his neck as much as you do with a hands device. Just make sure that the belts are tight. You're not allowed to start tightening them midway through a lap. They've got to be tight before you leave the pit lane. And there are the fans of Valentino Rossi.
I got here at 7 o'clock this morning and they were ahead of me, some of those, because the support for him, the commitment to be opposite the great man's pit box is pretty much unconfined. Raffaele Marciello, fastest now in the session. So by 0.198 of a second, he is the fastest.
Massive amount of time in relative terms. So again, it's not a particular surprise. What we're saying is that two Akodas SASP Team Mercedes, try and get it all out in one breath, first and second, and in fact Drouet in the third car likewise. So it's a bit, I thought it was going to be an Audi loving initially, but now these three Mercedes, these team cars coming into the pits is Raffaele Marciello, so he will be, I think, satisfied, but there's always scope and room for improvement.
Indeed so. And we now have Christopher Mies, who has taken over number 33 Audi from Jean-Baptiste Simonot straight away going fourth. This is Jules Gounon, who is second. Got a little bit gravelly, maybe a little bit wide at Westfield there, but he's hustling on. Now Dries Van Voor has done an absolute best in the middle sector. This is Jules Gounon coming from underneath the trees. See the shadows along the ground as he runs it up on the curb coming out of Stirling's. And now John down to Clearways.
Indeed, a lovely corner. Sort of almost a blind apex. The car goes light just as it drifts out to the edge. Then here, Clark Curve is the finish of that two-part corner. Hugs the inside as he runs up into Paddock Hill Bend. Now this last lap obviously wasn't any further improvement. It was a 122.3 as against a 122.2. Down the gears, gets into Druids. makes the late apex, runs the car out to the side of the racetrack, then down the hill into Graham Hill. Easy to outbrake yourself, so don't want to run overly wide on the exit. Then the short run along Cooper Straight, named after John Cooper, the man who redefined Formula One back in the late 50s with the rear-engine Cooper Formula One cars.
Just riding on board with Jules Gounon, not only can you see the commitment, but again, great noise. Let's listen as he heads out of Hawthorns.
That's how it should sound.
Yes. That was the curve you heard. Out of Sterling's, then the V8 Mercedes growls its way down the Clark curve. Jules, you've let us down, but he bails for the pit lane. It was good while it lasted, wasn't it? So in he comes, and Jules Gounon second in this Mercedes 1, 2, 3, and all of those cars, incidentally, out of the same Acodis ASP stable.
I'm looking through timing and scoring. Dennis Marshall has improved up to 11th place. The 46 Audi, which I thought would be back out on track with Fred Verbies, is still in the pit lane.
Now, not only that, car 46 reported to stewards for pit lane speeding. Well, if it hasn't gone out, there's only one person that's done that.
I wonder who.
This is all the stewards who want to meet Valentino, isn't it? Please come and see us. So Valentino has been reported for speeding in the pit lane.
Oh, by the way, could you sign my T-shirt,
Yeah,
please?
exactly. Yes. We have this mountain of posters while you're here. Margins, just to prove how close they are, you've got to go down to 9th and 10th, but Thomas Neubauer and Nicholas Scherl are separated by 1,000th of a second. It's nuts, isn't it?
Yeah, and the top 13, which is Valentino Rossi right now, covered by just under 1 second. So you think 13th, oh, really? Is that all? I'm only 13th. Well, you're within a second of the quickest car on the circuit.
But the trouble is around here, given the width of the circuit relative to the width of the cars, that it's hard to make that progress through the pack. Now, there's a car we've not seen yet, and it is number 18 of Gerhard Verraza, the experienced Lamborghini driver, both from Super Trofeo and GT3. He shares the car with Isaac Tutumlu, who's another driver that we have seen in Super Trofeo, and the GSM Nova Marine squad. Again, successful in, you've guessed it, Lamborghini Super Trofeo, won the World Finals at Jerez back in 19.
So where is Oliver Wilkinson in the 38? He's currently, the car is currently 15th. Lucy DePau and the 53 Ferrari has improved up to 5th position. Still Raffaele Marcello, or the 89 Mercedes, certainly Marcello behind the wheel. That car is pit out, so it's gone on to another run of laps.
And Eddie Cheever, who brought in that Sky Tempesta Mercedes, still shown as being in the pit lane as well. You were suggesting they wouldn't be able to get back out. They've only got 13 minutes to try and sort out this gearbox issue. So Mercedes, 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 Audi, Ferrari, Audi, 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 Audi. McLaren, 14th. So there's pretty much every Audi bar one all up at the pointy end right now. The one that isn't there is number 26, which is the Santilot car of the Belgian young guns, Nicolas Bart and Gilles Magnus, who used to be TCR rivals, but now they're co-drivers at Santilot.
Fred Verbies is now officially behind the wheel of car 46, and he is officially out on track.
Good. Still quite a few that we need to shepherd out of the pit lane, but the road getting busier. Remember, of course, that there is the pre-qualifying session for these cars. That comes up at 12:30, give or take 5 minutes, 25 past 12. And then we have the two 20-minute qualifying elements later on in the afternoon. That's due to start at 10 minutes to 4. We've had a McLaren go wide at Graham Hill Bend, I've just noticed, because out of the window, Ethan Simeone has been rejoining. So he's had a sort of Rossi-esque moment, I think, at Graham Hill Bend. Gerhard Verraza goes over the timing line, 24th fastest. A team getting used to the nuances of GT3 racing. So there's more to come from that, that's for sure. But right now, it's looking pretty optimistic for Mercedes, isn't it? They had a good start to the day.
They certainly did. I mean, initially I thought it was going to be very much Audi. I mean, there seemingly are more Audis in this event than any other brand, but they have been eclipsed by the 89, the 88 and 87 Mercedes. And, you know, if it was one Mercedes then all the Audis, you think, well, there's a chance, but with 3 of them blocking out the top 3 positions, that's a tough challenge to any of the other manufacturers this weekend.
Yeah, the one car that I'm surprised isn't doing better is number 56 Porsche of Klaus Bachler, and indeed the sister car, because with Christian Engelhardt at the wheel, 21st and 23rd of the 2 Porsches. Charles Weerts has now taken over from Dries van Thor. This is the car that's 6th, winners here last year, the champions last year, the champions the year before. And of course, race winners with Kelvin van der Linde in the endurance opener at Imola. So, in a sense, this is your benchmark team, not only in terms of drivers, but of course WRT, the brains trust that operates the car as well.
So Charles Weerts makes his way and exits Stirling's. So momentary image freeze down into clearways. The V10 absolutely flat out now. Then into 6th gear, cross start finish line. Then Paddock Hill Bend, where is the apex? Well, there it is. But as you approach it, you do not see it. It's one of the more difficult corners of any racetrack to be consistent. And the actual line that you want to take for Paddock Hill Bend is actually hang out as long as you can before you make your cut in. The instinctive thing to do is to come in too early and then narrow the point of entry into Paddock Hill Bend.
A lot of effort being put in by Charles Weerts as he fights the car around 30s. Let's ride with him. Bangs it down through the gears, through Stirling's, back onto the loud pedal, up now towards Clearways, heading for the end of the lap.
Yeah, and interesting as he turned into Hawthorne's, when he picked up the throttle, he didn't give it full throttle. He picked it up, applied a little bit of throttle to give the car that stability and momentum. It was only when he exited the corner he was back on full throttle. So there's a corner. I mean, obviously you can look at it on this telemetry and see, but that was one corner I could see where there would be scope for further improvement.
So there's Klaus Bachler breaking the beam, struggling at the moment, the Porsche. Now, whether this is down to the BOP or whether they are still working through a program, we don't really know. It's too early in the weekend to get a proper handle on it. But I am surprised the Porsches aren't doing better. 23rd he is. We've got just 8.5 minutes of the session to run now.
You would expect certainly one of the Porsches to be further up, but having both of them down in what is Christian Engelhardt in the 54 down in 21st, Klaus Bachler in the 56 down in 23rd. So Bachler now has made almost a 0.4 of a second, just under, improvement in Sector 1. So that will see that car, if he can maintain that degree of improvement around the final 2 sectors, we'll see that car elevating itself, maybe eventually up into the top 10.
Well, right now, it is, as we've been saying, a Mercedes 1-2-3, but Pierre-Alexandre Jean has got back into the 53 Ferrari and put it 5th fastest. So Pierre-Alexandre Jean may not be a Ferrari expert, but he's belying that. Klaus Bachler has improved in the first sector.
That's not going to help.
Not at all.
So all the good work that was carried out, 2.2 seconds, as a consequence of that grass-cutting exercise on the exit of Sheen Curve. So now he's got to reset, do it all over again. 7.5 minutes remaining.
Yeah, 1982, first ever Rallycross Grand Prix at Brands Hatch, won by a Porsche, Rolf Nielsen. So going back to rallycrossing for the Porsche, and Klaus Bachler was way wide coming out of Sheen Curve, as you saw, but he has sorted himself out and has to go again once the tyres are clean. Now, this is Pierre-Alexandre Jean in the Ferrari, who has been one of the stars of the morning for me.
Very much so. Just to go back to that rallycross, did Quick Vic Elford not rallycross the 911 demo that was owned by AFN Porsche back in 1965 or 66?
Yeah, which was really here in the car parks. Yeah, when Foot and Mouth stopped the RAC rally, and because there was television that needed feeding, so they came up with an event here. And so, yes, there was a sort of birth of rallycross at Brands Hatch. Quite right. The late Nick Elford, who we sadly lost
I
recently.
remember you were too young to watch it. I remember watching television. It might have been Raymond Baxter doing the commentary.
Very probably.
Raymond,
The great
wonderful
man.
commentator.
Absolutely. Wonderful, wonderful voice. The Sky Tempesta Ferrari we're looking at, just to prove that it's gone back out, finally. And good work by the team.
Absolutely, because it sounded like a bag of nails when it came in. So gearbox issue, to me, changed the gearbox, but whatever the fix is, it's been right at a very rapid fix. And also a rapid time from Eddie Cheever. He's picked up nearly 4 seconds in the middle sector. As he now comes across, it'll be his first flying lap. So wait to see where the 93 Mercedes is going to find itself. Well, it's only completed a 1 minute 30.9. So in spite of picking up over, well, maybe 8 or 9 seconds in that lap, he was so far off the pace when he came in at the end of his lap. So now we'll see the truer pace of the 93 Mercedes.
I mean, really, what they have to do at the moment, more than do a time, is make sure it's happy, the car is good, ready for pre-qualifying, because that's when the hard yards are now going to have to come. But really losing effectively an hour of track time puts them on the back foot, doesn't it?
It's a setback that they certainly hadn't anticipated, and it's a very unusual issue. We don't know the detail of what the gearbox problem was, but it sounded like all the gears and whatever's in the gearbox were not meshing. So he's backed out of it. Eddie Cheever has backed out of it as he completes what will be his 8th lap of a very disrupted morning.
But again, this might well be the team saying, OK, we've got some data, that's it, you can bring it in. Jim Pla goes storming by, and Eddie Cheever gets out of the way. Of course, Ferrari specialist, adapting to the Mercedes. And in fairness to Eddie, he's keeping off the line. He's getting out of people's way while he deals with what is not 100% right, this Mercedes.
So he backed out of it, gives himself track position, and in the process has almost compromised himself because the Porsche goes into the pits in the process.
But Eddie Cheever stays out, as you see, so he comes up towards the line and onto a flying lap now. And the time that he did there, because he compromised it at the end, was a slow one. It was a 35, but he did back right out of that to let everybody else go past. And actually, as other people are heading for the pit lane early, so ironically now the road becomes a bit clearer around Eddie Cheever, so he will get through the session. Chris Froggatt, I don't think actually ever got into the car, but need to double check that. So again, back on board with the Mercedes. The flag is about 4 minutes away, so there's time for 2 more laps after this if he wants them.
I think you need every bit of these final 2 laps. At least the circuit looks relatively clear ahead of Eddie Cheever, so he's now got all the opportunities to focus and concentrate. As Christopher Mies in the 33 Audi, Christopher Mies, that car, 4th quickest of all the Audis. And where is Fred Rabiche in the 46, 13th? So there's not really been any improvement in time. Looking forward to see where Charles Vetz in the 32 Audi is a couple of places behind Christopher Mies in 6th place.
I suspect Fred Verviche will have been sent out on old rubber because he can perhaps adapt to that more easily than can Valentino Rossi. And in Fred's case, it's more a case of setting up the car in readiness for later on in the day. He doesn't need the mileage. So as over the line goes Eddie Cheever, 93 on track. Let's hear from his co-driver, Chris Froggatt, watching all of this from the pit lane in the company of Gemma Scott.
Chris, it's looked like a bit of a mixed session. Talk to us.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately we've had an issue with, we've had a new engine in the car, and it seems the engine and throttle body aren't communicating properly, so the car wasn't shifting gears when Eddie went out on throttle. It would only shift when you lifted. So it seems like the team has sorted it out now, but we've got brakes to bed in, and session's kind of almost over, so it's a shame, bit of a waste of a session for us, but you know, it is what it is, and hopefully we can pick up again in the next session.
Well, things can only improve.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Thank you.
So Chris Froggatt's having a very busy time of it, doing endurance, doing Sprint Cup, and also British GT. He was at Alton Park with Kevin Say, the Macanese driver, a couple of weeks ago. Andrea Bertolini then, decorated GT racer, multiple titles in FIA GT and FIA GT1 World Championship, in Pro-Am in GT World Challenge Europe and its predecessor, the old Endurance Series. He comes then down towards Clark Curve, and he'll get one more lap out of the session.
Yes, Andrea Bertolini very, very impressed with the latest Ferrari GT3 product. That'll be the 296, which is already testing at Fiorano, and it is the future of GT3 racing for this brand. And it'll not be a V8 twin turbo, it'll be a V6 twin turbo, but a more modern engine than the current V8 that's in the back of the 488.
1 or 2 running a little bit wide up the curve there, look, coming out of Graham Hill Bend. As now we have Christian Engelhardt and Klaus Bachler improving in terms of times. 17th and 19th they've got to. So, drama right at the very end of the session. Now somebody has gone through the gravel, and it is 188 McLaren. Now who did we have in that? Miguel Ramos it is, the Portuguese driver, who has dug himself out the other side. The dust is still settling, but he had enough momentum, I think, to run all the way through that.
Well,
he got to the barrier though, didn't he?
How did he ever get off? So I mean, you hit the barrier at the rear, when you can see the tyre's been displaced, but that'll be damage on the left rear of the car. The wing probably has been slightly rearranged. How did he get so far off track at that part of entry into? It's interesting. An interesting view of how you want to take Paddock Hill Bend.
It's very rare as a car grinds to a halt, one of the car collection Audis, very rare to see a car hit a barrier and go through the gravel and get back onto the racetrack. Shows the momentum he had.
He did well, did well. Did badly to start with, but did well to conclude. So Christopher Hauser, what's the problem? Now, would that be simply out of fuel? I mean,
Might be.
Could be anything.
Yeah.
Second guessing what it could be. But you would imagine it's the end of the session.
Well, the flag's out, and we'll try and catch up on what the trails are for Christopher Hauser in due course. 89 is fastest then. Timur Boguslavski brought it home, but the time was set by Raffaele Marciello.
Raffaele, the end of the first session here at Brands, and things are looking pretty strong for the Mercedes.
Yeah, I mean, we're only 3 for Mercedes this year, so Audi looks also quite strong from P5, I don't know, till P10, 11. Thinking quality will be closer as always.
Of course, you've got your double reigning champions with Charles Wirtz and Audi over there, but you guys are probably the strongest competitors here at Akadis.
Yeah, I mean, last year we've been quite unlucky in Brenzach and Zandvoort, where we lost a lot of points compared to Dries and Charles. And there is also the 88 that is quite strong with Jules and Jim, maybe a bit stronger than us overall, but I mean, it's a long season, so we'll see.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, and enjoy Brands.
Thank you.
Is it my eyes deceiving me, or is it a smudge on his face, or is Raffaele actually, is that the beginnings of a moustache?
Might be. It might be. It became a tradition, didn't it, that every week it will be a different hair colour. We went through greens and pinks, so he keeps us guessing as to what the appearance is going to be. But one thing remains constant, and that is his pace. So it is then Raffaele Marciello who sets that target time at the very end of the session of 1 minute 22.037. And although we had 1 or 2 people in trouble, and we'll unravel some of them ready for pre-qualifying, all 26 did get out and do a time. But yes, Christopher Hauser's crew might well have just been trying to see how far they could go on a tank of fuel and have the answer. Might be something else, but that's certainly a theory.
I think it's as good a punt as any.
Yeah, I agree.
To see the car on the final lap slowing down, and then just at the point where you go out into the countryside so they can get them back into the pit lane pretty quickly.
Well, let's have a look at the order then at the end of free practice with the Timur Boguslavski and Raffaele Marciello Mercedes the fastest. Raffaele doing the time ahead of Jules Gounon's sister car, and then Thomas Drouet third fastest. Christopher Meets was fourth ahead of Pierre-Alexandre Jean, and then Dries Van Thor with Aurélien Panis and Patrick Niederhauser flying under the radar for seventh. Simon Gachet, Christopher Hauser eighth ahead of Thomas Neubauer, and then Alex Arca rounded out the top 10. 14th, Ben Barker going solo. Alex Malikin feeling a bit under the weather this morning, but hopefully he'll be good to go in pre-qualifying round about lunchtime, 25 past 12. Outside the top 15, the Joe to McLaren only 16th, but again it's free practice, so how much do you want to read into all of this? Good to see Adrian Delina back, and at the foot of the times the Sky Tempesta Mercedes with its problems, all to do with this engine change and the transmission not really performing as it should, with the gearbox not changing when the team wanted it to. So there's more to come from that car as well over the course of the day. Pre-qualifying and qualifying today, both races tomorrow. So let's, at the end of that session, just reflect on what we had with Timo Boguslavski and Raffaele Marciello's Mercedes being the fastest. It was a relatively calm session. Everybody in the sunshine eager to get out on track, with the first element of the session, of course, being purely for the bronze and the silver graded drivers. And all eyes, as ever, on Valentino Rossi as the lights went green at the end of the pit lane, and the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit started to echo to the most fiercely fought GT3 championship around. Valentino Rossi adapting to yet again another new circuit with the WRT run Audi. Quick to begin with Dean McDonald in number 188 McLaren. That car off the road at the very end, but 15 in the times. Valentino was learning about all the extremities of the circuit, running wide on repeated laps at Graham Hill Bend, but back into the garage had gone the Sky Tempesta Racing Mercedes. Benjamin Goethe was looking good earlier on in that session as he went to the top time. Nicholas Scherr likewise, number 99 for Attempto. The differing Audi teams trading times. And when the number 38 Jota McLaren hit the circuit as well, that was another car looking competitive. So too was 89, and Raffaele Marciello was on a mission as he eventually put that car fastest by just under 0.2 of a second. Charles Weerts and Dries Van Voort taking the fight to them, and so also Jim Pla and Jules Gounon aboard 88 Mercedes. Klaus Bachler had this rally crossing moment at Sheen Curve, got away with it, and ultimately was 20th at the end of the session. We had the leading 14 cars covered by a second, with Miguel Ramos going off the road right at the very end. And there's more drama to come in pre-qualifying at 12. We'll see you for that.